Everybody dance with me. Come on. LaQuetta, Ron, Gene.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you very much to the voice who introduces me. Let's quiet that music down, and we're just going to stop it. And I am akaRadioRed. That's my name on Mondays, and this is my little corner of the world. I've been doing this for years, where I get to talk to really interesting people. I call people creatives. It scares the heck out of a lot of people I meet. You're a creative. No, I'm not. I don't sing. I don't dance. I don't paint. I'm not an architect. I'm not a chef. You're a creative. You create everything about yourself, how you look, how you talk, how you dress, how you live, what your house looks like, what your business is like, how you interact with people. That's all your creativity. That's why I think anyway. So we're here on Cool Conversations. I renamed the show, Ron and Gene. You've been on before. LaQuetta is new. I renamed the show to just Cool Conversations with Creatives because nobody seems to get the Read My Lips part. So that's the way I go now. So I want you all we've rehearsed this. And LaQuetta is going to be the showrunner on this. Let's make the sign of the letter L. I saw you do it before. Beautiful. Ron, force yourself. There we go. Letter L. And on the count of three, you're all going to join me in saying hello, L. 1, 2, 3. Hello,
L, L.
Jordan, they fell apart at the end, but as far as enthusiasm goes, they're probably tied for first place with two other guest sets from a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't bad. We won't do it again. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She's been under the weather, but she's feeling much better because I got an email from her this morning. And LaQuetta and Ron and Gene at about 6:03 p.m. Eastern time tonight, I'm going to get an email. And Legs is going to tell me what you all said on the show. LaQuetta, she's going to do a book report on what you said, and Ron and Jean as well. She's been doing this for years, and she tells me, hello, beautiful, gorgeous lady of red. I loved your show. And she's going to tell me how much she loved all of you. So there you go. So that's LLL. Mm-hmm. Today is, my goodness gracious, today is May 12th. Yesterday was Mother's Day. I had a lovely day. But I have to tell you all, we had an earthquake here in eastern Tennessee on Saturday morning at 9:04 a.m., there was a rumbling noise. Jordan, I'm telling you this also, Jordan Henson, our engineer, a rumbling noise in the house. And I was in the kitchen. I said, that's odd. Is there a truck backing up somewhere? Did a tree fall? It was rumbling. It lasted a couple seconds. And all of a sudden the house went, and the whole house shook. Nothing broke, nothing fell. I was fine. But I went looking for tree falling outside. And I thought maybe the furnace underneath the house exploded. Called a friend, and she said, next door is lighting up. Everybody was posting, what was that? What was that? We actually made the national news about an hour later. I live near the East Tennessee fault line. It's nothing that's in the brochure when you buy a house here. I'm telling you that. It's not. Greenback, Tennessee was the epicenter. We're very close to that. The people in California are probably laughing at me because it was a 4.1. It was like, blip, blip, blip. You've had an earthquake. Really? Are you joking? Yes, we did. It was felt as far as Atlanta, Georgia, as far as Asheville, North Carolina, as far as South Carolina. It was a big little one. That's all I can tell you. So we're fine. Everything is good, but it was just one of those things. So today is the 132nd day of 2025, Gregorian calendar. The calendar with Julian was a little messed up. If you had a birthday in the first 10 days of October, you didn't get to celebrate except for every 4 years because he didn't know how to fix those things of lining with the moon. So Gregorian came along and he said, I have an idea. I'm a creative. I'm going to take the calendar and I'm going to make it so we have one leap year every 4 years, and I'm going to add a day to February. And then October got all its days back. It was a miracle. There were 233 days left this year. It's the 19th Monday, and nobody cares about that except me, I promise you. So let me go to my opening now, and I would like you all, when I call your name, to let me just refresh the screen here on the encoder just decides to, come on, encoder, there we go. Okay, so when I call your name, I want you to just wave hello. So here we go. Welcome to Cool Conversations, where I'm sorry, for some reason it got messed up. Welcome to Cool Conversations, where creatives are radiant on the show, sparks of brilliance and music's glow. aka Radio Red under Scarlett Mic's beam leads the way in our live streaming dream. Today's theme brings promise, bold and pretty, as we celebrate, LaQuetta, this is in honor of you, the grantings of creativity. I always pick a guest in their theme. With purpose and with passion, three creatives take flight. LaQuetta M. Shamblee, Ron Roel, and Jean Alfieri share their light. Here we go. From Mississippi roots to California skies, LaQuetta saw the world through wise young eyes. A gifted reader in Head Start's embrace, she journeyed through books at a rapid pace. From world book shelves to college prose, LaQuetta's writing blossomed as her confidence rose. With story-rich kin and a mother's belief, she now pens with power, wisdom, and relief. LaQuetta, I hope you like that.
I love it.
Good. I'm glad. Welcome. Let's go to Ron Roel. He's been on before. I wrote a new one for you. Ron Roel speaks. Ron Roel speaks to life's seasoned song, helping second acts last strong and long. From Newsday's pages, that's Newsday, Long Island, New York, Newsday's pages to radio air, he offers seniors and caregivers wisdom and care. His navigator guides with steady grace through aging's journey at a sensible pace. Working with AARP and his passion true, Ron shares the wonders that later life can imbue. What'd you think?
Lovely. And I appreciate that you refreshed it.
I did. I refreshed it from last time. And Jean gets a new one too. She's been on before. Jean Alfieri.
Yes.
Jean, with dogs by her side, finds joy where wagging tails reside. A humane society heart with a pen in her hand, she writes of pups across the land. From borrowed pets to vintage breeds, Jean celebrates each one's own unique needs. Her books bring bark and tail wag charm, I love that, and rescue love sure to disarm. Jean, I hope you like that.
I love that. Fantastic. Thank you.
I'm glad. You're welcome. So gather around where the cool vibes sway. Everybody sway with the cool vibes as we dive deep into creativity today, aka Radio Red's Roundtable lights the way. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. So how we do? Pretty good?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I messed up the opening. You know, I go back and forth. Sylvie is she's my virtual assistant, and she rewrites these for me, and I have to copy and paste them in, and I got a word wrong in there, so I apologize, but the rest of it went really well. Mm-hmm. So let's go around the table, and let's find out a little more about each of you. LaQuetta, you're the newcomer here. I met you a couple months ago at the National Publicity Summit. That's where I met Jean originally. And you know, there's another summit coming up on June 10th. I'll be going back and inviting another 35 or 40 people on the show. So there, LaQuetta, I'm putting you on speaker view. Would you please fill in the blanks, tell us a little more about what you do, and welcome officially to Read My Lips, Cool Conversations with Creatives. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Excited to be here. I am a grant writer and grant writing instructor. When people hear grants, they're like, what is that about? It's about money that you can get that you don't have to pay back. And it's what I've been doing for 30 plus years. Got into it working in the nonprofit sector during the height of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. And I have always loved writing and never thought I'd find myself pretty much writing for a living and teaching grant writing. I'm really an educator at heart, so I love to see the light bulbs go off when people understand how to do what they need to do to tap into money from grants.
How did you get into this, LaQuetta? That's interesting. I don't think I've ever had a grant writer on the show. What does that actually mean? Just give us an idea. What money are they tapping into? Who finds it? Who gets it? Just give us a little more, please.
I got into it under other duties as assigned, you know, all that other stuff that's not in your job description. And I was working at an HIV clinic at the LA Gay and Lesbian Center in Los Angeles back in the early, mid 90s. And my boss came in one day and said, hey, we need this grant written, and he was going to be leaving. And I had never done one on my own. So I wrote 2 grants to United Way. We got one of them. They were for $50,000. And grants are pretty much we have the government sector, the private sector, and the nonprofit sector. If it ain't government, if it ain't for profit, then the nonprofit sector takes care of all that stuff that nobody else takes care of. The Boys and Girls Clubs, the helping the homeless, the, believe it or not, entertainment and things. When you see all these free concerts in the park during the summer, a lot of times, that's stuff that's usually funded by some type of grant. So, and there are government grants, foundation grants are the primary grants that are available. And so if all of you were super uber wealthy, you look super uber wealthy and you gave away grants, you would want to know what people want the money for. Well, I'm the person who packages that in the form of a grant application called grant proposal based on what you say you need from me. And then you review it and decide who gets the money. That's what grant writing really is about.
Very interesting. And I'm going to ask it might be a silly question, might be a personal question. You don't have to answer, but what led you to the Publicity Summit? Because I usually meet people who write novels and people who write, like Jean, write about their pets or write about their architecture or whatever they do. What led you to promote, and what's the name of your book?
It's actually called the Grant Builder,
Okay.
step-by-step guide to grant writing workbook. And I used it when I first published the first edition. That's what helped me to get a gig at UCLA to teach grant writing. And then I have gone on to do lots of community workshops for free to teach people how to do it, and just been very, very fortunate that I've never had to advertise. Thank God my reputation carries itself. So all my businesses through referral, and now I'm shifting to do teaching people to do grant writing in the online Grant Builder Academy. But that's I got into it, kind of, they say serendipity. It just happened, and now I love doing it.
Very interesting. I can see your passion and your love for it. And when you said you're fortunate that people, your reputation you're not fortunate, you're smart. You're
Thank
smart, you do it well, and people know you do it well, and you gain respect that way. Ron wants to say something. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of this in terms of I work for well, a faith community that has a large internal foundation um, called the VEACH program on Long Island, and I've also done a lot of work for ARP for their community
you.
grant writing. And so when I look at some of these things, I think they could have used LaQuetta.
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 There you go. You see, people meet. We do a lot of networking here. It's just kind of subtle, but thank you, Ron. Speaking of Ron Roel, I met Ron at Voice America Radio, and I have been a guest on his show. He's no longer with VA, and I've been a guest, and he's been a guest on my Next at the Mic show, where I featured other radio hosts
Mhm.
talking about the impact, the community building impact. LaQuetta, you can appreciate this. The community building impact of live radio, of the voice, of bringing people together. And Ron was one of my guests, and we became friends. I left New York long ago, but he's still there, and there you go. So we still have that connection. Ron, I'm putting you on speaker view. Fill in the gaps for us, kid. What have we missed in my 8-line wonderful bio? Go ahead.
Well, I'm a writer, editor, journalist, podcaster, speaker. But I come out of a writing background, a journalistic background, worked for a newspaper for many years on Long Island. And I came out of that experience wanting to focus on a couple of areas, but primarily it was in the news business called the retirement planning for people 15 plus. But when I spoke to them about starting the section for the paper, it was like, I'm not talking about retirement. I'm just talking about this whole part of life that we have that's from 50 and beyond. That could be one chapter, two chapters, three chapters. And people generally have a pretty good script up until that point. But then afterwards, like, okay, well, okay, I grew up, went to college, got a job, got married or not, had kids or not, had a career. And now I'm like, ah, do I want to
Mm,
stick with my career? Do I want to have a phased retirement? What keeps me vital? What keeps me, purposeful in life? What do I need to do? And also, what are the challenges? Because it's not that easy. Getting older is, as a famous quote goes, is not for sissies, but it
nope.
can be for heroes too. So
There
that's
you
what I
go.
try to do, inspire people to live the best life you can all the way through.
Thank you. You hit so many interesting high points in
Yes.
what you said, right? We're all saying, I see the heads nodding. Yes, absolutely. My mom lived to 100 years, 1 month, and 15 days. And I was just remembering, and she lived on her own.
Wow.
She was sassy. She was independent. She was beautiful. She played bridge and mahjong and piano. Her neighbors complained that she didn't play her piano enough. Now, what do you think of that?
Great.
And she said, "You're going to hire an aide to watch me get up, get dressed, put on my makeup, my jewelry, go down, have my hair and nails done once a week." She lived in a big building, a fancy high-rise building that had an arcade of stores on the bottom. And she said, "And they're going to watch me go play bridge with my friends and watch me play mahjong and watch me play the piano for some of the groups in the building. You're going to pay somebody to do that?" So of course we didn't get her an aide. And she was sassy up until she took her last breath, which was in my arms one night in March of 2017. But I was remembering her, and I wonder sometimes, and nobody take this the wrong way, please. I wonder, I'm not going to tell you the years difference between my age now and my mom's, but I wonder there's several decades left for me to catch up to that. And what did she do? How did she keep on going all those years and find meaning and things to do to keep her spirits? And, Dad died in 1995. Her best friend Gertrude outlived her. Gertrude lived to 104, I found out. She went past Ruth by a couple of years. Interesting, interesting. And I always used to say to the women who knew my mom, I say, what are you drinking? What's in your water? I grew up in Queens, New York. What's in the water that you ladies are outliving your husbands by 10, 20, 30, 40 years? And you're still going strong and you're beautiful and you're intelligent and you travel and you live. What is it about? And nobody was doing a study of these people at this place in Lake Success, New York. Well, that's as specific as I'm going to get. Nobody was doing a longevity study. Nobody was doing how many people are in their mid 90s to high 90s. And if Ruth heard of somebody who passed away in their 80s, you know what she said? Too soon, too young. 90s, too young. That was her.
Wow.
That was her mantra, too young. And she hated to see old people because she didn't think she was old. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on. Jean Alfieri. Alfieri, I will pronounce it right by the end of the hour. I promise. Jean has been on before. I'm delighted. I met you again at the summit, and I said, "You got something new for me?" And you said, "Yes, Red, I do." So you're here. Jean, why don't you fill in the blanks for us? What have you been up to?
Well, I gotta say, Red, you covered a lot of ground with that, so thank you. The only thing I say, the only thing, and it's a pretty big thing, but what I've done since you and I have connected last is write a book on ways to weather the loss of your pet. So I have always written about dogs, but we had a situation. We had gone a long stretch. My husband and I enjoy senior dogs. So we had gone quite a long stretch of 4 years without any in our pack passing, and we had 4 dogs. And then we lost our Airedale, and it kind of tipped me over. And I realized yet again that I knew a few things about this, having as many dogs as we did in the house. And it might have been time to write to help people get through this, because it's not an easy thing. And it was hard. It was just, not only is it a tough subject, but it's not one when you're a happy person that you want to embrace necessarily. But in doing my research for it, I found out and took a course. So now I'm a certified pet grief coach for pet loss. There is such a thing. Who knew? So it's really interesting as a society how we allow people or don't allow people to grieve. Because when we think about it from an organizational capacity, there is no bereavement, right? You don't get a couple days off like you do with immediate family members. But this is an animal that has lived in your house for however many years and has probably treated you better than anybody else in the house has on a consistent basis. And yet, right, we don't allow time off. We just expect to go back to work and you should be fine. So I found all of this very interesting when I considered my own grief. So from a society standpoint, 2 things. It's considered a non-loss because it's just an animal. How offensive is that? And it can be replaced. You can get another one. And anyone who's had a pet knows that's just not the case. So it's been an interesting few months in a direction I didn't anticipate going, but at the end of it, I'm very happy that I went there because it's brought a lot more knowledge. And Ron, when you talk about, what are you doing in your life? You get to a point where now you have an opportunity maybe to recreate yourself. What is your identity? I feel like I'm stepping into something new now, and I'm really enjoying it. And I had no expectation that this would be. If I had to pick it for myself, I probably wouldn't, but here we are.
Thank you, Jean. Very, very interesting. The conversation is going where I love it, where we're talking about how we're creating our lives, but sometimes it's a surprise. We didn't plan. I was shy as a kid. I didn't plan to have almost 60 different radio series in 20 years. I didn't plan to be on Zoom. I didn't plan to be in front of the public. I just planned to do I was a computer programmer. I planned to write in COBOL and PL1 the rest of my life, and I didn't think I could get the English right. Well, of course, I spoke good English, but I didn't think that I would be talking in my own language to people like this. I never thought about the media. And so my mantra when I counsel or mentor younger people, I say, if you see a bit of light coming through that door or that window, open the damn door or kick open the window and see what's waiting for you on the other side. Sometimes there's something you didn't expect that will enrich your life, give you a new purpose, give you something more interesting to do than where you are now. So, okay, enough philosophizing here. Let's go on. And now we're going to get to the quotes. You each sent me a quote from, a song or a movie or a TV character. And I'm going to read the quote with a little bit of background on it. And then I want you to each tell me what this has to do with your creativity. So, LaQuetta, I'm going to first for you. And you've picked a line, a wonderful line from Higher Ground, beautiful song written by Stevie Wonder on his 1973 album Inner Visions. I think I still have the vinyl for that, LaQuetta. I think I've carted around vinyl 33 RPM full-length records for years. I don't know where it is, but it's here somewhere. Stevie Wonder wrote and recorded the song in a 3-hour burst of creativity in May of 1973. 3 hours. The album version of the song has an extra verse and runs 30 seconds longer. It made number 4 on the Billboard 100, number 1 on the U.S. Hot R&B Singles Chart. It only got to number 29 in the U.K., but what do they know? Higher Ground was recorded just before, this is interesting, just before Stevie Wonder was involved in a near-fatal accident in August of that year that left him in a coma. His road manager sang the melody into his ear, and Stevie, I'm going to cry, Stevie responded by moving his fingers with the music. And the lyrics address the issue of reincarnation. Very powerful. Here's the quote LaQuetta has picked. Gonna keep on trying till I reach my highest ground. I love that song. My drums are in the other room, LaQuetta, but if you would sing it, I'd play for you. LaQuetta, I'm putting you on speaker view. Rescue me, dear. What does this have to do with your creativity? Go.
I am always driven just by ideas. Ideas always come to me, and of course, like some people have tried to do everything at once and you can't, but I believe that I should never stop, because I believe that when I am inspired to do something, I am called to do it from a higher source, higher power, however you may call that. And I'm going to keep on. I tell people often, I may not get to where I'm planning to go, but everybody who knows me will say, if I die before then, she was on her way, because I am doing everything that I know to do to reach that point.
I love it. And that's such a wonderful song, Higher Ground. Does everybody else remember it, Jean or Ron?
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Yeah,
song?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Favorite
Stevie Wonder.
album.
I don't think I have my 45 records anymore, but I had Fingertips Part 1 by Little Stevie Wonder, his first record, which was a massive, massive hit. Anyway, thank you for the memories, LaQuetta, and great message there. Ron, you have picked a quote from Sunny, played by Dev Patel, from the film 2011 British comedy drama. And that's the only genres, Ron, that they put a hyphen between. Usually it's comedy, comma, fantasy, comma, sci-fi, comedy, This is comedy drama. And the movie was The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, directed by John Madden. Screenplay based on a 2004 novel called These Foolish Things by Deborah Mogach. Blah, 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 blah. Dev Patel, Judi Dench, wow, Bill Nighy, Maggie Smith, Tom Wilkinson. As a group of British pensioners, and we all know that's what Ron would call second act people, moving to a retirement hotel in India run by the young, very eager Sunny, played by Dev Patel, and they become involved in romantic comedy. Here's the deal. Ron, the production budget was $10 million. It grossed $137 million worldwide. That was a movie you wanted to be an investor in. It was among the highest grossing 2012 releases in Australia, New Zealand, UK, and one of the highest grossing specialty films. There was a sequel in 2015, and it was adapted into a stage play just 3 years ago. So here's the quote. Everything will be all right in the end. So if it's not all right, It is not the end. I remember that. I do. Ron, how'd you find this one and what does it have to do with you? Go.
Wow. Well, it's this wonderful film, and it seems like it's a small film, but when you get into it, it's so delightful, and it's a young Dev Patel, um, and it's an improbable situation. All these pensioners are coming here, thinking this is some exotic hotel, and it is, but not in the way you expect. And the relationship of these characters that really engrosses you. And Dev Patel is just delightful. He's trying to do this together. He's a young entrepreneur, and you're thinking, this will never work. How is he going to do this? But that's the point, is that you just, a little bit like what you said, LaQuetta, you just keep trying. And he just, and for me, it's a very, very positive, kind of inspirational saying. Don't worry. You will get there. And yeah, as it's the saying goes, if it's not okay, it's not the end. Just keep going. It will get there. It will eventually, it will be the end, but it'll be okay then. So it's such a, inspiration to me. Like, hey, don't worry so much. Don't worry. But as you've sort of said, Bonnie, many times, plan, but don't predict, because you don't know where this is going.
Yeah,
But that's okay. Just keep going, like you
there you
said,
go.
LaQuetta. Yeah.
We are trying. Thank you very much. Wonderful. I remember the movie very well. I think I saw both the original and the sequel as well. Jean has picked an interesting quote. Jean, I doubled it. It was two words, and the quote I think is said twice. Played by, you won't believe this. She's going back to 1931 to an
Mm,
American Gothic pre-code sci-fi horror film, Henry Frankenstein, played by
mm,
Colin Clive. The movie was Frankenstein, directed by James Whale, like the whale, adapted from a play by Peggy Weebling based on Mary Shelley's 1818 novel Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus. Colin Clive starred as Henry Frankenstein. He was Victor in the novel, an obsessed scientist who digs up corpses with the help of Fritz, his hunchback assistant, played by Dwight Fry, Frye, to assemble a living being from body parts, blah, blah, blah. Clive's maniacal delivery of the words, here's the quote Gina's picked, "It's alive, it's alive," when Dr. Frankenstein confirms his creature is moving, was one of the American Film Institute's 100 greatest movie quotes of all time. And it was inducted into the 1991 United States Library of Congress. There we go. So it's alive, it's alive. Gene, talk about it. Your creativity. Go ahead. I love the quote. Go.
Yeah, so there is a point when you're writing a book where it does come alive. And I love the classic monster movies. And so that quote has always resonated with me. My problem with this last one is I didn't know at what point it was alive. Sometimes it's right at the beginning when you feel it going strong, and sometimes it isn't until you write the end that you think you've got something. And I just languished. And it was funny because my husband would continue checking in. Hey, is it alive? Because he knows this is my quote, right? When I got something, then it's alive. And he's like, so is it alive? I'm like, not yet. Is it alive? Like a week later, I'm like, I don't think so. And so finally, when I leaned into it, and I think that's the message, right? These hard times aren't necessarily, even when you don't expect them. But Bonnie, you were talking about this, right? Open the
You got to
door.
call me Red, kids. You got to call me Red. I don't know who
Alfieri.
Bonnie is. Red, Red, Red. Go ahead, Gene.
Red, as you said, Red, when there's a door open, when there's a window available and you don't necessarily think you want to peek, lean into it. Just lean into it, and there you are. And so yeah, for me, that's when I know something's rolling. And this one I had to lean into. And finally, it was more close to the end than not, but it finally was alive.
I love it. I love it. I'm giving birth to a book. I recently hired a special editor for my novel I've been working on for 2 years, and we worked all part of this weekend and the weekend before, and we're making a lot of progress. And she loves my style, which is very unusual. And I'll tell you all after the show, if you have a few minutes, who she is. It's an interesting journey. Thank you all for the quotes. I have really loved them. Let's go to your creative statements, your creativity statements you sent me. I'm going to pick one or more from each of you and ask you to spend 2 or 3 minutes just unpacking them, like we say on the news show. And then anybody who wants to comment, just wiggle one of your polite fingers. LaQuetta, you had so many I wanted to talk about, but one you said you produced a short film. Weave that in somewhere. We're not going to focus on that, but I want to know what you did because I found that interesting. LaQuetta says, mainly I work from home, which is now my childhood home in Compton, California, where I relocated at the end of 2023 to take care of my mother who had strokes. Here she says, thank goodness for technology that has allowed me to write and create while traveling abroad to Europe, Mexico, Alaska, Southeast Asia. And then she says, my approach starts by taking an idea and jotting down bullet points, then proceeding to an outline before I add details. So there's a lot in there. LaQuetta, can you squeeze something into about 2.5 minutes there and tell us what this is all about? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was teaching at UCLA Extension, one of the perks was you get to take a free class. So I wanted to take a class about how to do webisodes, this new technology, because I've done some jazz production and stuff. And so the class I wanted got canceled because there weren't enough people. And there was one, how to do a short film. So I took that class and we had to write the script and actually film, do the film. And it had to be 3 to 5 minutes. And I did one called Girls Don't Do That, which ended up being funny. I'm a drummer from way back. So
did you say you're a drummer? Did you say you're a drummer?
I'm a drummer.
Me too.
Yeah.
What kind of music did you drum?
I played the full set. I had my NARD, my National Association Rudimental Drummer Certificate in high school. I played snare and then I played the tritoms, the 3 drums.
I played drum set. I was a drummer for a Motown band, a Motown cover band in Durham, North Carolina, and they were MC for a couple of years. I haven't played in a while here. Nobody wants to play my music here in Tennessee. Nobody wants to play Motown. It's just no. They want country and they want Western. Anyway, LaQuetta, keep going. I love that. Anybody says they're a drummer, I have to talk to them. Go ahead, LaQuetta.
Okay, yeah. So the film, and I played drums for my church when I was going to church. And so the film, I did the film and actually submitted it for the Pan-African Film Festival in Los Angeles. Didn't think it would get in, and it actually got in. Ended up having it screened a few other places, but it was a lot of fun to do that. So that's how I did my first film. And just people think that I'm a nerd until they see others, and I am a nerd, very proud nerd, but I have all this other stuff that I do, jazz productions, being a drummer. That's the musical part of me. And I went to a small private Christian college that didn't have a music program that I was interested in, so I majored in business. So full circle, I ended up doing a production for 9 consecutive years for the Instrumental Women Project, and at the time it was the longest running annual showcase that featured a lineup of all women jazz instrumentalists in the United States from 2000 until 2008, and then did some things after that. But I just, I feel like I said, I'm inspired. And when I feel the inspiration, God, spirit, whatever you call it, is telling me, hey, do this. And I just go and do what I can to make it happen.
There you go. That's the way creatives live. And I'll read you my little poem about creatives in a few minutes. Thank you, LaQuetta. Anybody have any comments or questions other than my butting in there with the, you play drums too? Comment. And I have little red boots and I have a red Ludwig set and red sticks, but the paint wears off the red sticks real fast. They sell you red sticks.
I have a Thomas set out in the garage, 5-piece that I bought.
Oh my God, that's above my pay grade. There you go. Thank you. And I have XSR. I mixed cymbals. I have mixed stuff. So I bought them in different times. Anyway, Ron or Jean, anything you want to say to LaQuetta before we move on?
Well, I just love the conversation about drums between you and Red because, being a boy growing up, it's like you think it's just boys who play drums. So the fact that the 2 women, yeah,
you got to meet Sheila E., kiddo.
No, but but that's
yes.
Obviously.
And I have to, if I can say this to Ron, when I was in high school, my the people would come in and it was me on the drums and a woman by the name of Nedra Wheeler. who was on the bass, upright bass. And they would come in, oh, it's a girl on the drums, girl on the bass. And when they would say that, oh my God, we would just kill it just to show them. And after that,
Absolutely.
no more comments.
I bet you did. I have to tell you, when I was new to Durham and I had a dear friend and he got me involved in the band, he didn't even realize I was taking drum lessons and he'd been a drummer in high school and he said, "Oh my God, we both play drums." Anyway, he liked to, yeah, he had I had the acoustic set and he had the electronic set, which everything, the way he had it, it sounded like he was beating on an oil drum. It really didn't. Never mind. Anyway, I got tickets to this local place. It was a former indoor mall, a store that they turned into a like a nightclub. I don't know how to say it, a small concert venue in a far off part of Durham, and it said Sheila E. was performing. Well, it didn't say that there would be food trucks outside, that we would sit in folding chairs all around the stage, that it was being put on by a music school, and these were their adult students who were ready for a performance. We heard, I think, 14 acts, and one was better than the last,
Mm.
including a young girl drummer, LaQuetta, who was just phenomenal. I think her father was in the audience. She was in her early teens, and then Sheila E. came out. She had on purple velour bell-bottom pants and a matching jacket. She started on the kettle drum and walked around the stage singing and talking, and she threw off her sneakers and she was walking barefoot on. I took videos. They said you can take pictures. And people paid extra to get a picture taken with her, but I couldn't stop. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I was sitting in the front row on one side of the stage, and it was mesmerizing. It was just mesmerizing. Anyway, that's my Sheila E. story. Okay, let's move on. Ron, you're up. I have a couple of your creativity statements we're going to
Okay.
talk about here. We're doing pretty good on time. You say
All right.
when I'm working on a challenging article, I often stop at a difficult point and simply walk away. Sometimes hours, sometimes a day. Try to let my mind go. Let my thoughts rest. Attend to the litany of ordinary tasks in my life. When I return to my writing, my unconscious mind seems to be working under the surface, beneath all the interruptions, and the way forward floats to the surface. And then you say, as a young boy, I often spent hours observing nature surrounding my home,
Mm.
particularly bird watching, my favorite pastime. Today, I still try to spend quiet time bird watching, alternating between walks in search of birds and moments when I simply sit still in one spot, waiting for birds to come to me. So, Ron, why don't you stitch this all together for us and spend about 2 minutes telling us how your creativity works this way? Go ahead.
Well, I think the first one is that you tend to try to focus on the task, and you focus and focus and focus, and sometimes you just realize, let go. Your mind is working, but you're trying too hard, and you need to just relax. Your mind is an incredible thing, and in the background, just let things go. It's gestating. It's working out the problem. You don't need to focus so hard. The subconscious is an amazing instrument. So let it do its work. And so that's what I do. I let it go, and then I'm like, oh, this is what it is. And so the mystery comes out if you can, let go of it and let it do its job. Don't worry so much about being in control. Your mind is in control, not the way your conscious mind is, but it works. The second one is about yeah, this is something. So I would I enjoyed, nature. I enjoyed observing nature and observing how many things you could learn about life from nature. Um, I think sometimes we're too human centric, so we don't really appreciate how many things work in spite of mankind or around mankind. And in bird watching, this is a particular tool that I figured out applied in other circumstances. That is, so when you go out bird watching, you look, you go to certain habitats and you want to find certain kinds of birds, and you look and you look and I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and then you realize, well, that you can do it that way, but you can also just sit still, look for a good spot, a feeding spot, a water hole, and the birds will come to you. Like, it's sort of similar to the first thing. You don't need to work so hard. Let lose control and gain control.
Ron, I bought the BirdFi Wi-Fi video cam bird feeder that is
Okay.
outside on my lawn, and I get videos all day long, sometimes 50 to 100 a day, and
Mm.
it records about 20 seconds a piece, and I can watch it live. And we had to put two squirrel baffles because now I have three squirrels that live on my lawn, and they even climb on my windowsill and they're starting to hit my window. I don't like that at all. But it has an AI component, Ron,
Mm.
that identifies the birds for me.
Wow.
And once in a while, we get I saw the first American, what was it, robin the other day, and a
Mm.
yellow finch a
Hmm.
couple of weeks ago. Not frequent, and mostly it's cardinals and bluebirds. And look at this gorgeous bird. This is just a
All right.
video, and I'm sitting inside that window with the curve. That's my office. My broadcast
Wow.
studio is there.
Wow.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to tell you
No.
that I am just delighted to have this view, and I feel the same way about the birds, and they're
And,
just.
and 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 you send me pictures, and I appreciate
I
all of them.
do.
Like,
I do. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. Anybody have any other comments about Ron with nature and waiting for those moments to come and do their
Yeah,
thing?
Ron, I think that is great sound advice. It took me way too long to figure out that if you just get up out of your chair, you might do it better when you sit back down again. Because I would force myself, I'd be suffering. You can't get up until you get one more paragraph done. Well, if you just get up and get some fresh air, you'd come back and have that paragraph in 2 seconds. Yeah, the power of fresh air, even. And
mm.
I'm not a winter person, but I'll tell you, if I'll make myself go get the mail if it if it requires a little break. But yeah, that makes very good sense. I
Mm.
appreciate that.
LaQuita, join us. Go ahead.
And one of my favorite historic figures is Leonardo da Vinci, who
Mm.
also was fascinated with birds. If you look at a lot of the drawings and things that he did to create, or I should say, draw illustrations of what would be flying machines had he had the technology back
Mm.
then. So love that. And also, I'm working to adopt more of your Zen quality, Ron. That
There you go. See?
It's okay. In the end, it will be okay.
And it's not the end. There we go. There we go. See all the wonderful things that we're discovering here. Thank you very much. Jean, I'm going to you and I picked statement number 2 from you and you say, I have found that what I value, what I fear, what I doubt, what I appreciate, and what I honor the most come out in my writing. I sound in everyday conversations exactly how I sound on paper. This is interesting. What occupies my mind will show up in my writing, but not always for public consumption. Okay. That's called a diary with a lock on it. Remember when we were 15? Yeah.
Yes.
I believe that's true of other artistic outlets as well. It's what attracts me to different artists' work and styles. So you're talking about a lot of people call it authenticity. I call it real deal. It's the real deal. So, Jean, how does this go ahead? How does this affect what you create? Talk to us.
Well, I think it's important, and I've heard it said too that I get up in the morning and pray that God gets in my head before I do, right? Because what am I producing in the course of a day, and how does that start? And I feel like it all begins with the power of positive thinking. What are you moving forward with? Now, it isn't always a powerful thought or a positive thought that I have, but even writing that down just to get it out takes up space in my head. I can just let it go then. But I am very mindful about what I'm trying to convey and doing it in the spirit that people will best receive it because I think we all appreciate that to give somebody a lecture isn't going to go anywhere. It's really about, are you connecting with them? Do you appreciate where they're at? And we're not all in the same place. You may have gone through the same thing as somebody else, but they're not experiencing it the same way you did. And so I feel like it's important for us to have a better understanding that we can't always walk in somebody's shoes as nice as it might is as nice as it was might seem. It's not possible. So meet them where they are and do what you can for them.
There you go. Beautiful thought. Anything, Laquita or Ron, you want to add? Walk a mile in our shoes. We've been taught that for years, and you're right. Sometimes it's just damn hard to do that. It's just, I think mindfulness is just understanding that person could be coming from a place that we don't know about and we can't relate to at all, but giving them the space to do what they're doing. I've run into this in work situations recently, and amazed and shocked at the anger some people feed back to me when I thought I was just saying something very innocent and very just normal. And I get back, I don't work for you, and how dare you write to me in all caps, and what do you do? I mean, somebody I've known for years, they're telling me they love me and adore me, but how dare I? And I wrote back, what just happened here? That's exactly what I wrote back in email. What just happened here? All I said was, what you suggested doesn't work for my process for booking guests on my show. Let's have a conversation. Instantly, the person sent me an apology. They
Yeah.
said, I'm so sorry. I wrote before I thought about it, and I
Mhm.
realized there was not, you were just telling me what you didn't want. And he took it all this happened yesterday, and I was just, what? Seriously? Don't do that. So anyway, we try to say, how do you express yourself? How do you protect yourself? How do you be real to yourself? But how do you deal with other people? Because we don't know where their shoes have been, right?
Right. And Red, I got to say, I've seen it on the road. So I just, I've come across my own situation where something will come on the radio, and all of a sudden I'm a sobbing mess. And I'm like, okay, are you gonna be able to get this back together, or are you gonna pull off? And then someone cuts me off, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're in a bad way too.
Yes.
Maybe they just suffered something that they
Yes.
didn't even realize what they were doing. Instead of getting
Yes.
angry, but I just it's tragic what's happening out there, and if we could just be a little more thoughtful about where somebody else might be.
It's generosity. I think it's having a generous spirit. It's saying, I'll give you the bandwidth to walk in your own shoes.
Yeah.
I want to read my creativity poem, which I promised you, and then I have some interesting trivia that we're going to all enjoy, I think. Excuse me. So I wrote this. I belong to a poetry group, an online group at Writer's Digest. I started back recently again, and we got a prompt every day for the entire month of April, poem a day challenge, and the entire month of November. We just finished April, and now we're every Wednesday. So we get a prompt every Wednesday morning from the moderator. And I was doing 3 to 5 poems every day for the entire month of April. I belonged to this group for 2 years until last December. I dropped out for a while, and I think I've written over 500 poems. Some days 5 to 10. It just pours out. And I like tricubes. I like limericks. I break the rules on limericks. I break the fifth line, and it just goes into a long conversation. They're very funny. They're humorous. So here's my poem. I like acrostics, and this is. I'm wondering if I should show it to you on the screen. No, I'm not going to. But anyway, it's NIGHTSHIFT. That was the theme. And here we go. Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative, going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows, flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, a command, a curse, a roller coaster, finding eureka, euphoria amid frustration and fears. Thus is the life of the creative. What'd you all think?
Mm,
Love it.
You like that? Thank you. Thank you. That's one of my favorites.
sure.
That's from July 2024. That was a
Um,
Wednesday poem, not a. Okay, so it's May 12th. I have some memorabilia trivia that you probably never heard of, but we're just going to pretend it's important. In 1958, on this day, May 12th, the Everly Brothers, All I Have to Do Is Dream, hit #1 on the US charts for the first of 5 weeks. The same day, the movie Let's Rock opened with Paul Anka, Danny and the Juniors. Remember at the hop, da 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 da. I try not to sing, it kills the show. And the Royal Teens. I think that was Who Wears Short Shorts, da, 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 not me anymore. Anyway, same day. In 1959, Eddie Fisher married Elizabeth Taylor. My goodness, the marriage lasted 5 years. Who knew? In 1960, Frank Sinatra had a TV variety show special called Welcome Home Elvis. Guess what? Elvis had just been discharged from the U.S. Army. They did a medley together. They sang Sinatra's Witchcraft and Love Me Tender by Elvis, and they sang together. In 1967, Procol Harum released the song
mm,
A Whiter Shade of Pale. I was in Europe that summer, and I remember dancing in the discos to that. In 1984, Lionel Richie's Hello, remember that? Not Adele's, Lionel Richie's. Inspired by when he was a teenager, too shy to talk to girls, hit #1 in the U.S. In 1997, Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson appeared on VH1's Storytellers. They played each other's songs and they swapped stories and produced an album the next year. In 2013, Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield recorded David Bowie's song Space Oddity while he was on board the International Space Station, put it on YouTube, millions of views.
Mm.
Today is Burt Bacharach, would have been, I don't know how old, but he died in 2023 at 94. Burt Bacharach, composer, songwriter, record producer, pianist, singer, conductor. I have his whole bio here. Just unbelievable. Katharine Hepburn was born today in 1907. AFI's greatest actress in Hollywood history, voted in 1999. George Carlin was born today in 1937. Florence Nightingale was born today in 1820. Okay, we have live people with birthdays. Rami Malek, you've ever heard of him from Mr. Robot and Freddie Mercury, and he's 44 today. Tony Hawk, the skateboarder, 57. Happy birthday. Emilio Estevez is 63. Breakfast Club, Brat Pack, guess what? He's Martin Sheen's son, and he's you-know-who's brother. Okay. He made short films in high school with his classmate, Sean Penn. How did they end up in the same high school? We don't really know. He married Paula Abdul, and they were married for 2 years. Okay. Emily Van Camp, Canadian actress. She played Emmy Abbott on Everwood. I don't know. I've seen her somewhere. Anyway, 39. Jason Biggs, an actor as Jim Levinstein in the American Pie film franchise. Okay. And there you go. He's 47. And Malin Ackerman, I only know her because she played the wife of Bobby Axelrod in Showtime series Billions from 2016 to 2019. If you've never seen Billions, find it. It's phenomenal, about found money in the hedge fund world. Stolen money mostly. Okay, we have 3 birthdays to celebrate real fast here. Summer McKeen is 26 years old. LaQuetta, why are we talking about her? She has 2 million subscribers on YouTube. What does she do? Makeup, fashion, and girly things. She talks about things she loves, and it's all girly things. So she has 2 million subscribers. Also on YouTube, we have somebody named Ryan Comedy, one word, 24 years old. He has 1 million followers on YouTube and 3.2 million on TikTok. Why? Comedy, short sketch videos, and parodies, and he pokes fun at relatable trends. I don't even know what that means. On TikTok, Jenna Sinatra, yes, that's her last name. She has 2.6 million followers. She's 22 today. Comedy and challenge videos, often about her boyfriend, and she once compared him to Noah Beck. I don't even know who that is. And she once sprayed her boyfriend with a cig faucet, and that got millions. I know, Ron, it's incredible. And on Instagram, we have Young Easy. It's a girl. She's 32, a woman, 2 million followers, and she has a comedic personality. Okay, today is National Limerick Day. Edward Lear, the British writer and poet, debuted the 5-line whimsical, humorous, playful, cheeky AABBA rhyme scheme with a specific rhythm and a bounce in his 1846 book, A Book of Nonsense. It's National Nutty Fudge Day, International Day of Plant Health, National Anthony Day. If you know an Anthony, say hello. It's not his birthday. Bike to Work Week. May, American Cheese Month, gifts from the garden, lettuce, asparagus, barbecue, chocolate, custard, not in the garden, eggs, hamburger, salad, salsa, and strawberries. And it's a month of teen CEOs and creative beginnings. And I have to close this out in just a second here. Don't go away, guests. We want to stay around and talk for a minute. Jordan, we will end on time today. So in 2014, I ended the show with the top 10 tips for women. And the number 1 tip was, and this is way before the movie, aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. There you go. That's from 2014. LaQuetta got it.
Oh.
I'm not watching. Yeah, Ron liked it too. Okay, here are my closing words. You're going to join me in a second. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. No. Kiss slowly. Yes. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Laugh with me. 1, 2, 3. LaQuetta, let yourself go. And never, ever, ever regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco and high heels on a Formica tabletop in a high school cafeteria, everybody watched. I never fell. Sing like nobody's listening, and love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart grow back and regenerate. Money talks. Chocolate sings. And last but not least, I stole this line from another host years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Now let me play the outro music here. And Jordan is just about ready. We got 1 minute, and let's see where we can get our music player up. And I think everything is ready to go, and we're going to go out with a bang. Here we go.
On Read My Lips Radio, producer and host, aka Radio Red, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy aka Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Oh, how those lips can talk.
Thank you very much to the voice of
On Read
Ryan
My
Treasure. Okay, Ryan, that's enough. I'm Radio Red. I'll be back next Monday. Thank you so much to LaQuetta Shamblee. Lovely to meet you and see you. You're wonderful. Ron Roel back and Jean Alfieri. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week. Everybody wave goodbye to social.